Okay, have a fire when you go after. You want to go after, right? Hold on. Fellow police of the media, our television viewers and radio listeners across the globe, we'd like to welcome you in the Charles William Press Audio and Ministry of Information, where our regular Tuesdays and Thursdays press briefings are held. This afternoon, I'd like to invite the Deputy Spokesperson, the Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs, Dr. Sando, who will deputize the official spokesperson of the government on our journalistic Mapupia and provide you updates on the current affairs of the government. Mr. Sando.
Permit me to present greetings to you on behalf of the Minister of Mapupia, who cannot be with us today because he has engagement with the President, His Excellency Joseph Mwaka, and so we will manage the press conference today. And we want to re-emphasize the protocol as was laid down by the IT Assistant Minister for Media Services. The press conference is expected to normally start at 12 because EFBC OB crew was delayed with the traffic. So we expect that by the time the guests are walking in the hall, the movement of gadgets cannot get tolerated because you have the latitude. I'm sure most of you are here early in the morning. That kind of distraction is not too good because you need a picture of the kind of things that we want to do here at the Ministry of Information. So we just want to re-emphasize that protocol. Please, if you are a journalist, a sign here, or you are a journalist who have interest in covering the press briefing, please be in the hall at least by 11:45, 11:50. You can use that time to put your camera in place and everything. When you go to other places, even the White House when President Trump is speaking, you don't see journalists moving around. They have the gadget in place. It is the government spokeshouse. So we will treat it in a manner, and we hope that our media friends can take you, because we can't keep running the announcement every day. Today is February 3rd, 2026. And we are grateful to be back here to handle the ministry's bi-weekly press briefing. We have two distinguished gentlemen who are speaking to you today. They come from various sectors. Dr. Ibrahim Yan, Deputy Minister for International Cooperation and Economic Integration at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, is here, who is speaking. Of course, some of you heard that Liberia has declared a bid for the African Union Peace and Security Council. So the candidacy of Liberia has been announced. We saw it from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So he's now here to talk to you on what it will entail for Liberia to get elected, what the announcement of Liberia's candidacy means for the country, and what step the ministry headed by the Dean of the President's Cabinet is taking to be sure that Liberia can get additional grease added to her elbow on the international scene. So Dr. Yan, on behalf of Minister Pia and the senior management team, we want to welcome you here at the Ministry of Information. Also present here is the Honorable George W.K. Yango. He's the Chief Executive Officer, National Water, Sanitation and Hygiene Commission. His presence here means a lot to the public. It's the second time being here since we assumed the duty here at the Ministry of Information. So we'll be speaking to you on regulatory framework of the Vice Commission, coordination policy, the oversight mandate of the entity. He will also provide you some updates on key WASH policy and reforms that are ongoing in the sector. These updates and awareness are important for the public to from time to time be aware of what is happening across the government. Of course, as the spoke entity of the government, yes, we collect information updates on what they're doing, but it doesn't hurt if they themselves come here to say to the public what they are doing. It makes our work much more easier. Mr. Yango is also here with the Executive Director and the team of other members of staff. He will make the proper introduction when he mounts the podium. Before we entertain our guests, I want to start by speaking to something that has gotten to the attention of the government. The attempts by some members of the opposition to politicize the demolition exercise that took place in Satan, which was an outcome of a judicial process growing out of a dispute between two private parties. So people have issues, the courts are established to serve as a forum for dispute resolution all over here in the country. Without problem, the law requires us to go to the court to settle our issues. So we all know how many years, how long it can take for land matters to be resolved in court. Was the government involved in the land issue, the dispute? No. So people go to court, and what you pray for is a favorable judgment. There are two parties. The court must rule. So the court ruled, and the eviction order is issued, and properties are demolished. As a government, we are in empathy with our citizens who have been made homeless by this action. But this should not be another opportunity where people who want to politicize everything in the country will start to make statements and comments that draw the government into the picture. And some of the people who are making these statements, what they won't say yesterday for the law, for the rule of law. The law is the law. So you say, making people homeless, breaking down structure without finding alternative is being mean-spirited. The person who is speaking in this manner and form is a lawyer who is under obligation to respect the outcome of the court. But because politics has blinded everybody in this country, so people will exploit every little opportunity to be heard and to play politics. You cannot treat the law like an outside child. You advocate for the rule of law when the judgment is favorable for you. But when the judgment favors another person, you tell me that being mean-spirited. This is wrong. I thought to emphasize this at the start of this press conference because people have been made homeless. And if you are a leader, whether at the district, county, or national level, the most you can do is not to politicize their vulnerability, their misfortune. Go there and identify with the people. Sit on Facebook and say people who break it down structure are being mean-spirited because they didn't find alternative for the people. I just want to clarify that this issue is between two private parties. We must then respect the court. While we empathize with the victims, we have to respect the court. You do not want to set a precedent where the court rule and people cannot accept the outcome of the ruling or the court and everything. That's a bad precedent. And those who want to politicize the situation, they have to desist. Because you are simply being desperate. You are simply being desperate. The government has absolutely no role to play in what happens in Tanzania. That being said, the government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Transport, has officially launched new sets of lesson plates for vehicles, motorcycles, and tricycles operating in the country. The new lesson plates feature advanced security elements and a classification system for vehicles, motorcycles operating across Liberia. The plates, the issuance of the plates, or the availability of the plates, take really effect except for those plates that are currently unexpired. The initiative, according to the Ministry of Transport, aligns with the Ministry's policy of renewing lesson plates every 5 years. They added that the new plates will enhance law enforcement efficiency, improve public safety, boost revenue generation, and promote transparency and accountability. The ministry emphasizes that the initiative is part of the government's broader efforts to revitalize the transport sector while contributing significantly to the national budget. Members of the public, government agencies, private institutions, and stakeholders in the transport sector welcome the new lesson plates indicating the importance of improved service delivery and maintaining transparency in the sector. I'm sure a lot of you followed Mr. Gafuan last night when he appeared on one of the local talk shows. He said a lot of things we have to follow, because we all know that the Ministry of Finance does the heavy lifting as far as the implementation of the arrest agenda for inclusive development is concerned. The minister outlined significant fiscal policy shifts and highlighted promising economic indicators on the show. The minister announced the reversal of salary harmonization in key sectors, key institutions, including the LDCC, the General Auditing Commission, the Supreme Court of Liberia and judges. Those were the areas where salary has been restored to pre-harmonization level. He further noted that employees of the Drug Enforcement Agency are expected to receive salary increment this year. He emphasized that the government is approaching the reversal of the harmonization policy carefully to ensure fiscal sustainability. On the energy front, Mr. Gafuan identified energy as the primary sector for transformative investment, declaring energy is one of the sectors that is going to take all of the support or money that Liberia will get from the Liberia Challenge Corporation. He underscored the critical link between reliable power and economic growth. He also talked about the construction of the justice complex. And there are many people who always look up for bad news. Last week, the president and officials broke ground right across the road for the construction of the justice complex. Instead of all people saying, oh yes, a good idea. Ministry of Justice renting, the DEA renting, fire service renting, immigration renting. Instead of you saying it's a good idea for the government to build structures for these security apparatus that manage sensitive information, the first question of course are asking, where they get their money from? So Mr. Gafuan last night outlined that the construction of the justice complex was part of the plan submitted by the Ministry of Justice during the crafting of the AARD. And of course, you know that the AARD was costed over $8 billion for the implementation. So the construction of that complex is part of the cost that was announced by the government. It said in the budget this year, something is carried in the budget, but not the entire 20 billion. What you said last day is that they provided seed funding. That seed funding is meant to start the work. And when the work gets started, the country is hoping to attract partners in the international cycle that will come to help. Because while it's true that we will look out for other things, we have to take some steps that we will see to determine that the country is well intentioned about it will come in to help. So you want to name some partners that will let them come in to help when the project gets started. I thought we'll make the point because there are people who are not focusing on the progress the country is making. All they do is to seek for negativity, to seek for controversial issues. So that question has been answered. The government of Liberia is constructing that complex. The government, according to the Ministry of Finance, the Minister of Finance last night provided seed funding to get the project started. He said what is committed is just on $1 million. The complex is a $20 million complex. And we'll be looking forward to getting all of donor partners, international friends to come and support us. The minister also indicated last night that they increased the budget for prosecutions. A lot of Liberians who are concerned, they say, oh, people are accused of corruption and prosecution is a process. It takes time, it takes commitment from lawyers. It requires resources. So the minister also announced last night that they've increased the budget for prosecution. On the country's positive economic trajectory and private sector growth, the minister was very optimistic about the country's economic health. He cited several positive indicators. Deposit rates in the banks have increased. International trade is increasing. No budget shortfall. You now talk about supplementary budgets. These are all positive indicators. The minister reflected on the progress made, noting that we have not reached our final destination, but we are certainly not where we used to be. This optimism is bolstered by private sector activity. The minister revealed compelling data from the Ministry of Commerce stating that over 8,000 new businesses were registered in 2025 and more jobs were created. These remarks by the minister collectively paint a picture of a government that is actively calibrating the fiscal policy to strengthen institutions across the country. On the road sector, last week we announced that the Ministry of Public Works has received no objection from the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development for the pavement of the 50-kilometer road from Bagleyville to Plum and to Sassan in Greenfield County. Came to our attention that one newspaper said, instead of quoting verbatim what we said, one newspaper did the reverse and said the public work they didn't get no objection. I had to call that publisher, and he was very magnanimous, and he corrected his headlines. This is why we always emphasize that they give us their own divided attention when we speak, because anything we say here, if we don't get the proper message and go out there, we are misquoted. This thing was brought to my attention by, I think, somebody who works in the minister's office. And he said, Basano, what the people have been quoting is not what we put up. I said, why you put up what we read at the press briefing? So it was corrected, but we have to work in partnership to ensure that we avoid these kind of glitches. If there's something that you didn't get at the press briefing, because we are all humans, you can simply take the phone to call, or you can simply go to the office to get the information properly. In addition to that development, the Ministry of Public Works has also announced that civil work will commence this year on the 85 kilometer road linking Tostown to Zwedu, Greenfield County. Contractors will be mobilized this year to begin the construction of the 61.5 kilometer road linking Kelipo to Johntown. Procurement processes have officially commenced for the hiring of a contractor for the construction of the remaining 48.5 kilometer road connecting Johntown to Zwedu, Greenfield County. This project, or this road, is expected to close the gap within the southeast. Liberia has once again secured a seat on the Executive Council of the Federation of Atlantic African Press Agency, the FAAPA. This comes following the re-election of the country for another 3-year term at that organization. The General Assembly was recently held in Marrakech, Morocco. Of course, Liberia was represented at the General Assembly by the Lieutenant Director, Mr. Chokon Ta. He participated in the electoral process that culminated in the country's renewed mandate on the council. This re-election underscored the confidence the FAAPA member states continue to place in Liberia's contribution to regional media cooperation, professional journalism, and the strengthening of news agencies across Atlantic Africa. The FAAPA brings together about 30 national news agencies from Atlantic African countries to foster cooperation, capacity building, and the exchange of credible information. Liberia's continued presence on the Executive Council positions the country to play a strategic role in shaping the Federation's policy and programs for the next 3 years. Few updates from the Ministry of Health. The Nima County Health Team has opened a newly renovated national waiting home in Queen Mianplema Health District, Nima County. The facility aims to reduce maternal mortality by providing a safe, comfortable place for expectant mothers to await delivery, featuring modern amenities like smart television, toilets, and reliable electricity. The facility will serve over 10,000 people across 14 communities. And I have to say, it was fully funded by the government of Liberia. Also, the Ministry of Health and the Liberia Global Health Surgery Consortium has signed a historic partnership. The collaboration will strengthen nationwide surgical and diagnostic care in areas like cardiac surgery, women's health, and digital health. The goal of the partnership is to expand services, train health workers, improve equipment assets, and build sustainable system. The partnership is highlighted as a model for leveraging the Liberian diaspora to connect global expertise with local needs for lasting impacts. Both initiatives reflect the concerted efforts of the Ministry of Health to improve healthcare across Liberia, both local and national level. Following the launch of the Excel project, that is the Excellent in Learning in Liberia, the Ministry of Education is recruiting financial managers to support one of Liberia's largest investments in foundational learning. The person occupying this role will help drive system strengthening, improve early grade learning, and ensure strong accountability across the project's 5-year implementation period. If you have the requisite experience, commitment, and passion to contribute to national education reform, the Ministry of Education is encouraging you to apply. Only shortlisted applicants will be contacted. Qualified female candidates are strongly encouraged to apply. Also from the Ministry of Education, as part of preparation for the Excellence in Liberia, Excellent in Learning in Liberia project, Excel project, the Ministry of Education is engaging early with contractors, suppliers, service providers, and training institutions to share information and listen to the market before formal procurement begins. The early market engagement will provide clarity on upcoming opportunities across works, rules, consulting and non-consulting services, and training on a nationwide education reform program covering all 15 counties. It is also an opportunity for potential providers to understand the project needs, procurement approaches, and timelines while offering feedback that will help shape effective and competitive procurement packaging. Lastly, before I take my seat, the motion picture review division of the Ministry of Information informs all recording studios, importers of movies, producers of film, production houses, movie dealers, video centers operators, cinemas, theaters, video clubs, sports centers, video rental booths, playstations, all entertainment centers, and all movie-related institutions that the annual regulatory registration process has begun. The annual registration of all movie entities in keeping with the statutory provisions that enforces the ministry's function through an enforcement of the Liberia MOI law by the national legislature. Additionally, The military attention has been drawn to advertise shop and unauthorized locations showing games open. Okay, so that's the announcement from the Motion Picture Division. The annual registration process has started, and I encouraging all major actors in the sector to please take advantage of the process. We now invite Mr. George Jango. We'll take that one here first, and then we'll be followed by the executive boss of the National Flash Commission.
Thank you, Daniel. Very exhaustive. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, members of the public, I would like to greet you on behalf of the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Liberia, Our Excellency Madam Sarah Nyanti, who is also the Dean of President Joseph Ndumabua's cabinet. We have some briefings, some very good briefings for the public on what we are doing at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs under the leadership of the Minister, Sarah Nyanti. You all recall that when she took over, she promised a melange of interventions that she was going to do. But everything is targeting everything targets two particular goals. One, to rebrand Liberia's image. Two, and to reposition Liberia in international affairs. That means to ensure that Liberia gains leadership position on international affairs and in global diplomacy, international multilateral organization, and rebranding is to promote a positive image of Liberia across the world. And so she's been implementing, with the mandate from the president, a number of agenda items, as we articulated very clearly in the government's arrest agenda for inclusive development. We've been giving the press and the general public updates over time, but today I have 4 specific updates to provide. One is that our candidacy for election to the African Union Peace and Security Council has been accepted by the African Union, and this election will take place next week at the 40th session of the Executive Council of the African Union on February 11 and February 12 in Addis Ababa. We will be competing for one of the seats for West Africa. The African Union Peace and Security Council is the standing organ of the African Union responsible for the prevention, management, and resolution of disputes, various forms of conflicts on the continent. So it's the African version of what we all know as the United Nations Security Council. We believe that this will complement our role on the UN Security Council, particularly as Africa has already a mechanism established to present a common agenda at the UN Peace and Security, at the UN Security Council. And so over the last few months, we have been campaigning to win one of the Western African region seats on the African Union Peace and Security Council. So we've been campaigning over the last few months, and we are hopeful of a very decisive victory next week. The minister has been engaged in extensive bilateral diplomacy, soliciting the support and votes of other member states of the African Union to ensure that Liberia is elected to the AU Peace and Security Council. The next update is the leadership of the African group at the UN. So this month, Liberia took over the chairmanship of the African group at the United Nations in New York. The African group is a coalition of African countries at the United Nations, and the group consults and ensure that there is always a common African position on global issues. And so as of February, Liberia is the leader of this group. It's a rotating chairmanship or chairpersonship. So all meetings of this group, agenda items, policy positions will be shifted and influenced by Liberia at the United Nations. The third is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in collaboration with the National Investment Commission and the European Union, will organize this month in Brussels, specifically February 24th to 26th, the Liberia EU Business Forum. This is in fulfillment of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Economic Diplomacy agenda. Honorable Madam Nyanti, we have complemented our political diplomacy with economic diplomacy, meaning we are using and leveraging our diplomatic platform to attract investments to our country. So our bilateral and multilateral relationships are not always about political relationships, strengthening ties and cultural programs. As much as that is very important, but we are also leveraging the various platforms and meetings to ask countries to deepen trade and investment opportunities with Liberia. And so most of them are responding very favorably. So the Liberia EU Business Forum will be held in Brussels this month, and we are taking about 60 Liberian businesses at all levels, and they will be meeting European businesses. We'll have 2 days of interaction, panel discussions. We'll have state-owned enterprises making presentations on investment opportunities, and the private sector actors will also be discussing their own businesses that they are doing and the kind of partnership that they look forward to. We hope that a good number of Liberian businesses and state-owned enterprises will attract investment in their specific sectors at the end of this forum. Finally, the fourth update we have from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is that you are all fully aware that in January, we assumed our responsibilities at the UN Security Council. This required us to beef up or bolster the capacity of our permanent mission in New York. So we've been recruiting staff through a very competitive recruitment process supported by UNDP. Given the very sensitive nature of this, we asked our partners in the UNDP to facilitate the recruitment, going by clear professional standards, using detailed terms of reference and benchmarks. And the UNDP has been leading this process, and it's been very competitive. Liberians from all walks of life have applied, and those who met the requirements or who were fortunate enough to have a competitive edge have been selected in the first stage of the recruitment. And so this has the only principle of exclusion in this recruitment was that you must meet the requirement. And if you did not meet the requirement and there was somebody else who was more competent than you are, then obviously you wouldn't be selected. But people were selected clearly on the basis of the established criteria for selection, and the only role the Ministry of Foreign Affairs played was to facilitate the contracting. But UNDP announced the vacancy, received the applications, conducted the interview, and provided a list of potential candidates to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This means people from all backgrounds, ethnic, tribal, professional, political, religious, had the equal chance of being selected. And the only criteria was the established criteria of meeting the key requirements. So some of the staff have been deployed, and the second phase of recruitment is going on again through the UNDP. So I'll stop there, Daniel.
Yes.
And I believe the president has some questions.
That, you want to say, we've done the same.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Very short. Yeah.
Honorable Daniel G. Sando, Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs, Honorable Assistant Minister of Cumberland, officials of government present, ladies and gentlemen, my people staff that are here with me, including the Executive Director, Mr. Morris G. Bono, one and all. I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of the WASH Commission to express our thanks and appreciation to the Ministry of Information for the opportunity we have to engage this national platform to be able to provide some information on what the WASH Commission is doing in order to implement the national arrest agenda. But first of all, let me just delve into a little bit of history of how the Commission came into being, what it is, what it does, with whom it works. The idea of a national regulator called a Commission was the work of a UNDP-funded World WASH project in 2012. With the coordinated efforts of WASH partners, including the presence of WASH civil society organizations, the Commission was enacted into law in 2017 by the National Legislature. The Commission is the government of Liberia's statutory body responsible for providing national leadership, regulation, coordination, and oversight of the WASH sector in Liberia. These are key mandates and functions of the Commission: policy coordination and sector leadership, regulation and compliance oversight, licensing and certificating, monitoring, inspection, and quality assurance, sector planning and data management, resource mobilization, and partnership development, advocacy and public engagement, decentralization, coordination support. Over the last year, we'd just like to give you some of our accomplishments. We developed what is called the Presidential WASH Compact, which is a political commitment of the government of Liberia to ensure that reforms occur within the sector. The compact brings together key ministries, agencies and commissions, government partners, and private sector stakeholders to commit to measurable actions on sector financing, ending open defecation, strengthening service delivery, and improving regulatory compliance. To address some of the challenges within the sector, the Commission has been able to work along with our partners to provide a cabinet-level leadership and national policy coherence for water resource management, urban and rural water supply, sanitation, and hygiene promotion. We've been able to consolidate our regulatory and service delivery oversight to reduce duplication and improve efficiency. We've been able to work with different partners to strengthen budgetary prioritization and domestic resource mobilization. And this is evidenced by our recent engagement of the legislature during the budget process to see as to whether they could include additional money for what we consider would have been the impact on districts in the country. We try to improve coordination with county and municipal authorities and support decentralized service delivery and accountability. During 2025, these are key achievements of the Commission. We had 6 joint inspections at health districts in Mosrado County. We did assessment on 243 water companies and 354 other businesses for the means of compliance. We issued 25 clearances, 56 licenses, and 69 compliance certificates to businesses, NGOs, RNGOs, and private wash operators nationwide. We investigated and resolved 2 public water quality complaints with technical support from the National Public Health Institute of Liberia. One of our strengths comes from senior engagements, senior meetings. Last year we had 35 of them. That actually strengthen our decision making as a commission. We convened 12 national wash coordination meetings, and of course we also mentioned the presidential wash compact, which we did along with our partners, and waiting for presidential action. We were part of the nationally determined contribution 3.0 development, where for the very first time, we ensured that climate resilience and water security are embedded in those national commitments. We also, maybe you may know that sometime last year in February, the President of the United States withdrew significant funding from USAID, and that affected a substantial amount of investment in this country, particularly for water system development. And one of them was Windrock, that have 14 of our communities where they were going to build water systems, not hand pumps, but water systems. And because of the withdrawal of the funding, the work was stalled. So the commission had to work hard, and we were able to get a partner that is currently working in 4 of the locations, of the 14 locations. That is, one of them is in Dolostown and Riverview. One of those systems is in Yawuri in Magbi, and then another one is in Bapulu in Bon County, and then Sarah Johnson Quarter at 15 Gate. With the completion of these systems, we expect that about 22,500 citizens will be able to have solar power boreholes, elevator towers, kiosks, and chlorination systems. And in all, we want to see they will have more water to be able to take care of hygiene and for drinking purposes. We also are working with the UNDP. As you know, the UNDP is doing a number of water systems. Somebody just talked about the one in Bokolu. We got several of them. Some in Grand Bassa, and then there are others around the countryside where they are working to be able to give residents an estimated number of 21,000 residents with clean water, but also an opportunity to be able to connect their homes to piping system so that they can have they can use their bathrooms and whatever needs they are. We are also working with a number of local NGOs who are now taking on the task of improving sanitation in a good number of counties in Liberia. There is also an answer to the withdrawal of funding from USAID, but these have to do with how we can be able to improve on the sanitation situation of communities in rural areas. We also finalized what we call the open defecation-free roadmap. It's already done. We are thinking on launching this roadmap. We know it is a very huge and ambitious task, but we know that because other countries like Nigeria, like India, Bangladesh, who have bigger populations, were able to implement such a roadmap, Liberia can be able to do that as well. At the Commission, we have now transitioned from paper-based certification to digital platform. It means now when partners apply to us for the various instruments for their operation, they can go online and be able to do registration. Currently, we are working with AVO. Maybe some of you may know AVO. They were here before and they were able to set up our data system. But right now, because we don't have that, we have a serious problem tracking what is happening around the countryside. So we're working with them to be able to again build a data system for us. On the capacity development front and international partnerships, we have a standing agreement with the Egyptian Ministry of Water and Irrigation and also the South African Ministry of Water and Sanitation and IHE there in the Netherlands. So far, during our tenure, we've been able to send about 6 of our staff members and 1 staff member from the FWSC to benefit from short-term training at the Egyptian Ministry of Water and Irrigation. We realize that we have a significant task because our data shows that this country, it is only 27% of our schools and 3% of our health facilities that have just basic services. Now when we say basic services, it means the minimum service a population can have. Also, we know that only 1% of our rural households also have access to hand washing facilities. We are engaged in a number of international events. For example, every year we do what we call World Water Day. This year will be March the 25th. So we are preparing for that. Further down in 2026, we will also do the Global Hand Washing Day. That also follows with the formalities and also some of the actions that are taken by other countries. The Commission has challenges, and some of the challenges we have is that at the moment we have a sector that is fragmented and there are governance constraints. Probably you know that the issue of water sits in many entities in this country. We do not have a single policy entity like a ministry, like other countries have. And so coordination is a very serious problem. We are working on, again, like we said, we're working on ensuring that this government will have a standalone cabinet level ministry that will take care of all of the affairs of water sanitation and hygiene. We already mentioned that we have a number of funding gaps because of the withdrawal of funding from the usage by the U.S. government. We are working on revenue sharing agreements with the Ministry of Finance, but that is being delayed. But we know that we're going to be able to get somewhere so that some of our operational issues can be held and done very, very quickly. We have a serious issue with climate change. And climate change is one of those that affect our water systems. Liberia ranks 168 countries out of 177. It means we have a vulnerability score of 0.58%. So you can see that even our readiness is very low, it's as low as 0.238%, and puts us at a very big disadvantage. The commission was enacted to be in all of the counties, but as yet the commission is only visible in Monserrato and Grand Bassam. So you can see that limits our capacity to be able to reach out with our services to other counties. Today we have only 81 personnel at the commission, and all of them are located in the single head office. We also have limited incentives to be able to retain staff because of pay disparities and a relatively high workload at the staff that we have. So key to our constraints are funding gaps, fragmentation, low sanitation level, climate vulnerability, and a low level of our capacity at the level of the counties. We are working on other different areas. For example, we want to change the way we do things. We implement our projects in this country. We are trying to adopt a model called the BRS, Build, Run, and Sustain, which means we want our water system, particularly those standalone systems, to be insured, so that just in case there's an issue of a climate disaster or other issues that may happen, those systems can be redeemed by an insurance company. This is not the first time it's going to happen here. It has happened in other countries, and we certainly know that it will be able to work. So we begin with trying to professionalize the systems by having people who understand more on the intricacies and the workings of those systems, so that when something happens, we can rush them very quickly and ensure that something is done. So again, we like to say in this manner that we are working along with the National Legislature, the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, so that we can be able to push forward some of the reforms that we have to make the Commission more viable and more productive, and to be in the shape to be able to provide a level of service to our people around this country. So the Commission wants to ensure this the ministry that we will be very happy to have an opportunity to always appear, to be able to update the media and by extension the public on what we are doing, because we want the best for our country, and having the best requires that people know what we have in terms of the service we can provide. So again, on behalf of the Commission, I would like to say thank you very much to the Ministry of Information. And I know I may have left some details out which can be able to come through the questions and answer to you. Thank you very much.
Two speakers, very brief media presentation. Listen to the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs. We lay out what the ministry is, what they are doing. Listen to the Vice Commission boss. I see a very long line, so we have to on screen to be direct. One question for journalists. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Samuel. Mr.
Good afternoon, my name is David Case and I report for the TrueLiberia. My question to Mr. Samuel. Mr. Samuel, we start with the issue of the land dispute data. And Liberians are concerned. The issue of people buying their land and then leaving the land vulnerable, they are not developing the land. At the end of the day, when somebody has that structure or they purchase that land from another person and put something on it, then that person comes to reclaim the land and say the land is for them, leaving many people homeless. What is your government doing? What mechanism are they putting into place to stop the issue of people leaving their land vulnerable?
Thank you, Mr.
My name is Joseph Sade and I report from Rata TV. Actually, I'm more concerned to know about the status of Mr. Garcia. Since the announcement we made here that the foreign minister, we have not gotten any update from him.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Good afternoon, Honorable Minister. I have two questions for
One question
my first question is the Deputy Minister how will the government balance respect for code reading with compassion for how will the government balance respect for code reading and with compassion for the federal citizen? My next question is to the Honorable Minister of Finance or Foreign Affairs. Honorable Minister, how will this diplomatic achievement translate into measurable benefit for ordinary Liberians, particularly in terms of job investment in national development?
My name is James Baldwin and I report for Key Radio. I have a question for the Chief Executive Officer of National Health Commission. So the Joint Monthly Report of 2017 says that Liberia has 42% of its population practicing open education. In another report from UNICEF also says that we have 5.3% of Liberia population also lacks access to sanitation and clean water. So I want to know how are you working with your partners to address these concerns, and you talk about roadmap and how does that particular roadmap intend to address the issue of education. And secondly, to the
Next question, thank you. Next question. Next question.
My name is Nadrisa. I report for Star TV. My question goes to the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs. What will Liberia think to benefit from the business forum that is upcoming from the EU angle for local investment?
Every outbound in the way from the newspaper, I have a question to the director to ask the question. You listed Chief Executive Officer. So you listed all challenges, but within the challenges, can you give your main challenge and the level care?
Good afternoon, Dr. Ian. My name is Christopher Besman. I report for Inside Liberia. With the significant progress you just provided, what do we stand with updates as it relates to the diversity in the lottery program from the Foreign Ministry? Lottery program, ethnic diversity program, the TV program, yes.
Good afternoon, my name is Jackson Sefa, and I represent TV. Dr. Ibrahim from the Foreign Ministry. Let me just quickly run up the questions I have for you.
One question only.
Can you please permit me to answer the question?
We're encouraging female participants that what she asked to go. One please, the line is gone.
Okay, thank you very much. As of 2024, January 2024, up to date, how many non-governmental, international non-governmental organizations do we have in the country, and how are they contributing to the development of this country?
Thank you, next question.
So, my name is Joseph Seli, and I read for the news newspaper. A question goes to the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs. We've been hearing about deportations proceeding of some Liberians that are in the United States of America. And we all know that if these people are deported, they have an economic issues on our country in terms of remittancy. I want to know what's the current status with our brothers and sisters who are in the United States as it relates to the issue of deportation. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Prince Joey, and I report for Smart Radio. I have one question, and it will be directed to you, Minister Sandro. While it is true that we respect and acknowledge the good ruling in that case, the people being affected by the demolition exercise are Liberians. Instead of just watching the opposition and other Google citizens helping out, what are you doing as a government to help? Thank you.
Good afternoon to all. My name is Arina Ikutugi, and I report from Blaze FM. My question is directed to Ibrahim Young. Liberians are concerned, how can their businesses attract the European market? Thank you.
Thank you, and I was going to go for here. My question goes to the One Commission. And I take my question from when we talk about the challenges that we are confronting at the Wash Commission. And specifically, you talk about the lack of coordination. As a chief executive officer, why approach? Why is that approach of managing and monitoring the commission staff to ensure high performance standards? Thank you.
Thank you, next question. Your line is a decimal one, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, my name is Josh Holly, and I report for Liberia. My questions go to the CEO. Liberians are concerned. They want to know how long does it take for the commission to give out license to water companies? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'm Bill Wasmo, report for the Women TV and the informal newspaper. So my question goes to Mr. Sandro. Mr. Sandro has something I've listened to you read an entire announcement that will be published through various independent media institutions. So my concern here is you are, as a government, the government is encouraging private institutions to be compliant by registering and have all the necessary documents. So what is the government sustainability plan for the media when they are doing such announcement via this platform?
Good afternoon. My name is Harrison Snow, and I work for TrueLiberia. Mr. ED, you make mention about the verification roadmap being finalized, but I didn't hear you talking about the roadmap, what is seek to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming. My name is Desmond Williams. Let me say thanks for the ED. The ED is full of the diplomat, short and precise. It's not an ED. So now that ED is already the Deputy Minister for Economic Integration. You know, sometimes when we see all the over excitement, but that is the issue. But, Mr. Minister, permit me to ask you this question. You are Deputy Minister for Economic Integration. So I want to know, in terms of specificity, what particular role does economic integration play in terms of tackling youth unemployment and particular programs that are directed with your office in terms of jobs creation for young people?
Thank you, Joseph, for the question.
I show you guys some of the points. They respond to the question. How many questions you got?
Thank you, Minister Samba, for giving me the opportunity to answer the questions that belong to my other responsibilities. I have a lot of questions here. I'm going to group them. Some of the questions are actually interrelated. There is a very sensitive question about Abrego Garcia. We announced indeed that Liberia, a couple of months ago, that Liberia agreed to provide sanctuary for Mr. Garcia should he be removed from the U.S. And we are still committed to that on the basis of our international obligations, and including obligations on non-refoulement. But Mr. Garcia's case is squarely a U.S. justice-related case. And when that process is exhausted in the U.S. and the U.S. government decides that he will be removed from the U.S., we will extend the olive branch to him, of course. But if he stays in the U.S., I mean, that's also fine with us. So at the moment, the determination has not been made by the U.S. government whether he will be removed. There are questions related to the Liberia EU Business Forum. I think there were 3 questions, so I'm going to address all at this moment. The Business Forum is intended to create opportunities for Liberian businesses to network and build partnership with businesses in Europe and other businesses elsewhere that will attend this forum. And when the businesses establish partnership, attract investments, including our state-owned enterprises, the ultimate result we expect is that they will grow. And when businesses grow, they will need more hands, they will need innovation, they will need talents. And those talents are expected to be homegrown talents. And this is where employment comes in. So the forum is expected to expose Liberia's economic opportunities, Liberia's investment opportunities, so that investors are attracted to the country to partner with Liberian businesses and facilitate their growth so that they can scale up what they are doing. For instance, we have some businesses, agro processing businesses. There's a young woman in Nimba who is doing dry fruit. We produce a lot of mangoes a year, and most of them go to waste. So she packages the dry fruits, and she's only selling it in Liberia. But we know very well that in Europe and other parts of the world, people like dry fruits for snacking, as snack. So if she goes to this business forum and she interacts with very good investors or people interested in her projects, they will give her some financing on an equity basis, through which she can be able to scale up her business. And by scaling up, she will hire more people locally, and then she will also obviously go through administrative expenses. So it's not just locally, she will have her office, the entire supply chain will improve. There will be people who will be selling mangoes and other foods to her. And so it's not just about the businesses that are going, it's also about supply chain connection, so that several businesses along those lines can scale their businesses, hire more people, increase their capital, which all of which will facilitate economic growth in the country. So someone asked a question around the DV program. Unfortunately, the DV program is not a Liberian program. There's a US immigration program, and only the US government can speak to this matter. They determine this. What we've been doing as a government is to build good relationship with all governments across the world, to create conditions for our citizens to move freely, to travel where they want to travel, and to access economic opportunities where they want to. And this is where economic integration comes in. We are a member of ECOWAS. One of the goals of ECOWAS is to facilitate economic integration. This week, the Ministry of Finance, the Central Bank, will be hosting ECOWAS countries here, ECOWAS member states, to talk about economic integration related issues. For instance, the common currency, our monetary policies. So all of these are intended to facilitate business transactions between our country and other countries that are part of this framework. We are also a member of the African Union. You know, in 2020, the African Union launched the African Continental Free Trade Area. That free trade area is an economic integration facility that will ensure Liberians who are doing businesses are able to take their businesses and export to Ghana, to Nigeria, and other countries that are part of this free trade area without going through significant barriers, including tariff, whether tariff or non-tariff barriers. So the benefits of free trade and economic integration are enormous for smaller markets like ours. So it provides opportunity for us to access bigger markets. Nigeria has a very big market. If we have good free trade facility, and the rich men will be able to sell to their market, and they will sell to our market. So our economic diplomacy arrangement also, it goes beyond the continent. We are about to sign new agreements with important multilateral trade frameworks. We've already signed one with China. Over the last 2 years, we've signed several, and they've given us a 0% tariff on Liberian exports to China. So all of those who are producing agricultural products, you will export to China. Once you meet the sanitary and physical sanitary requirements, you meet all of the trade regulations, you will sell to China without tariffs. So all of these are out of the very deliberate economic policies of President Joseph Boakai, intended to grow this economy, provide jobs for the young people, and ensure that we have stability in our country. I don't know if I missed out on any of the questions here because I grouped them together. There's another question on deportation. Somebody asked about Liberians in the US concerned about deportation. Deportation is an immigration policy of every friendly government. I mean, every government around the world, they decide individuals who are in their country who violate established community rules and their laws. They go through court process to be removed from those countries. And it is not a new event or new phenomenon. Almost every week or every 2 weeks, Liberians are being deported from other countries, and they come, the government receives them, and they are reintegrated. So the current US immigration policy is about ensuring that individuals who are illegal immigrants in the US are processed to either be removed or to go through the legal process. What we can tell our citizens everywhere around the world, make sure you go by the rules of the host country. And when you are traveling from Liberia to any country, read about the country, what are the requirements for entry into that country. Once you meet all of the requirements, you satisfy all of the immigration, the legal procedures of residence in any other country, there will be no ground for you to be removed in an immigration raid or through any illegal process. Those who have legal residences have recourse through the law. And so many people in the US are using the legal recourse. Some are winning. Those who are not winning, they are being deported to their countries. So we encourage you, every Liberians, if you want to leave from Liberia to go to any other country, make sure you meet all of the traveling requirements. Apply for visa, get a legitimate passport, apply for visa through the legitimate process, acquire the right visa, and travel. If you fail to meet the requirements, the host country will use their own law to determine your eligibility to stay in your country or to be removed. For us, we can only ensure and request that your rights be respected out there, but we cannot dictate to another government in the application of their rules. Thank you.
Thank you.
The audience, thank you very much for this. We have 5 questions. I'm going to do 1 or 2 and then I will let ED to also be able to do some of the questions. Somebody read the statistics of what we've done since the SDGs. But I'd just like to say here that if you will remember, if any of you here were old enough at the time, the former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf traveled to the Netherlands, and I was on that trip. That trip was intended to do the finishing touches on the SDGs. I think if you know the SDGs, the one that relate to water, sanitation, and hygiene are 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3. So we set the goals, the SDG goals, and then we set the target. One of those targets today is a very difficult target for Africa and Asia, and that is 6.2. Safely managed sanitation for families to achieve safely managed sanitation. That means that your sanitation facility must either be in a house or within the property. And that's a difficulty. Recently, I was in Senegal and we're trying to lobby to see whether we can change that target. And let me tell you the reason why. When the target was being set in Europe, at that time, most European countries already had safely managed sanitation. Compared to Africa, compared to Asia. Now, if you tell Africa that in order for you to be safely managed, in order to have safe sanitation, you must have safely managed, you must have facilities either in your house or on the property, then it means getting into the housing issue. How many families in Africa and in Asia have good homes? That is a very, very difficult situation. So we're trying to see whether we can do some lobbying. But again, in Liberia and in many countries, we have what they call the open defecation-free roadmap. What is that roadmap intended to do? That roadmap intends to ensure that feces, human feces, that's the most dangerous thing that we can have in our environment, is put away safely. How do we do that? We do it in several ways. We also do it, we have to do it at every place, in public places, in homes, in schools, in health facilities, everywhere. It means that people do not scatter feces in the environment, because if they do, the diseases that we will not get from water will be forced to have to deal with them because they will contaminate the water supply. So this is one way we are doing it. Now this will be a public action. It will be a movement. It will mean that everybody in Liberia, including ministers, legislators, just anybody everywhere need to be able to help to solve that problem of open defecation. So we will launch this document sometime in a year to come. So this is one way we want to address it. But again, I can tell you the statistics that are being given by the JNP, by UNICEF, whoever else, they are factual. That our open defecation percentages are very high and the impact on our health. So let me leave it at that. I think the other thing has to do with coordination. Every Thursday in every month, we have the coordination meeting at the commission, where everybody, private sector partners, government, the legislature, everybody meet and we decide on a common course of action. But we need to go a little bit more than that, because as you see the way the government ministries and agencies and commissions are structured, they are a stand-alone. It means any entity can take its money and implement it without the support of any other entity, and that is not working well for us. We need to work in a coordinated fashion. So I think these are the ways we are trying to coordinate our activities. So I'll just let the ED come and then we talk about how long it takes to be able to do business at the commission. He will be able to give you that information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO. There's a question about our big challenge at the Commission. So the operation of the Commission is such a way that we do not seek our own interests. All of what we do is also for the other sector actors. So we don't have one main challenge. The public. We would like to inform you that all of the challenges that were named, they are all mean to us. They are all important to the Commission. There's this question about what are we doing to manage our staff in terms of performance. So when we took over, we decided to write the CSA and the did capacity need assessment for the Commission. So that report has been communicated to us. What we're doing now is to be able to work with that particular document to see how we can reshuffle, how we can put our staff in the rightful position, because there were misplaced staff that we met at the Commission. So these are steps that we're taking. In terms of capacity, we're also working on partners. I think it was clearly in the update that we're working with the Egyptian embassy, line ministers and agency, and other international partners for capacity building for our staff, which number of staff are trained, even our other sector actors like the LWC also provide us with staff, and they were also trained in that direction. So there's a question about how long does it take for water companies, institutions to be certificated. So when we took over, the paper-based certification was an issue. It also took months, some 2 weeks, some 3 weeks, before even anyone can be certificated. So what we say is that we want to leave the paper base, that our staff should not interact with the partners as well. It's some sort of enhancing the system within the WASH Commission. So we adapted, we developed an online system for application, where the process is done, you can even remain pay online. We are piloting it for now, but we are not on a full scale. So in a couple of months or so, we'll be on a full scale where we will not be doing processing manually. So right now, it takes about 1 to 4 days for people or companies to be certificated. So we have reduced that very significantly from 1 month period to at least 4 working days to be certificated. I think so far so good. Like the CEO said, Roma seek to address, to put an end to the Liberian people going outside. Let me say it clearly. So open defecation is feces outside. So how can we stop that? The Roma seek to change it in 1 year, in 2 years, in 5 years. So the roadmap for 5 years period from 2026 to 2030. So it has been developed. Once it's launched, it's signed by the president or any higher officials, then it can be implemented. But it takes all of us effort, like he said. So it's not only government, but also have part to play as citizens. On that note, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the Minister of Finance and Development Planning, the Honorable Minister. I want to say thank you to the Controller General. All of the work we do is being supported by the government of Liberia. Most especially our inspection exercise. It's never done for me, it's never driven. It has always been the government of Liberia. I want to say thank you to the Controller General for always helping us in the process. We are working on the revenue sharing generation that will empower us with what we collect and the percentage we're giving for operations as well. But as it stands, everything that we request for, we have to work through the Controller General. He has been very, very helpful in that process. Thank you.
Thanks to the WASH Commission for answering all of the questions. We have 3 questions, and I just want to respond to the questions very quickly, and then we can draw the curtain on this edition of the press briefing. What is the government doing about abandoning? According to the journalists, people buy land, they abandon it, and people move from the land. But as somebody bought land, and they don't have any structure there, is that the ground for somebody to go and encroach on the person property? One of the sectors that was greatly exploited and affected is the land sector. All of the reforms The Governance Commission has worked to institute. We now have a land commission. The land commission will grow a land authority. We still have problem in the land sector. So I can say to justify why people should move on lands that are not being properly used or own use. I can say that. What I would encourage citizens to do is not to invest their money in property that have questions. Before you buy land, you all know what it costs to get money. Just make sure you investigate. Just investigate. And we should be able to educate our people. We can't be saying, oh, because the man bought his land, he paid house on his own, is a reason why somebody should move there and pay house. Before you invest your money somewhere to build a house, you must be able to show proper ownership of that land. And like I said, what happened in Satan, in the case of any other demolition that affected citizens, the government can take empathy with the citizens. But you have to understand that these demolitions are direct outcome from the court. If we are now questioning why should the court judgment be enforced, then we also question the existence of the court. We don't want to do that. So we just have to educate our people. We know times are hard, and everybody can have afford to buy land, but be careful who you buy land. There are schools of citizens who are falling victims in spite of the reforms that we see in the land sector. People still getting involved with criminal conveyance of land. They sell to one person, they go sell to another person, they go sell to another. It's a long-running issue. How the government balance respect for court ruling and compassion for citizens. I said the people are citizens, the government empathizes with them, right? But should we also say that the court ruling should not be enforced? We can't say anything. the government tell this people and tell you, oh, they should not enforce the court ruling. You know what I'm saying? How are we doing the government? The entire process we should enforce the ruling because we don't want to get to the point where, like I said initially, we can't get to the point where we will decide which ruling to enforce and which will not enforce. What we can do is to say ruling from the court must be rendered in a fair and transparent way. And the fact that those who were in the case, they resolved the issue by the ruling they got from the court. When that whole thing referred, all we can say is that we are in sympathy with the citizens that have been affected by this demolition. It's a problem which will not just end with this Satan case. There are scores of other people, just the other day, Hotel Africa. The government announced that investors have expressed interest in Hotel Africa. Have you seen some of the structures they built at Hotel Africa? Right in the ministry. It used to be the Ministry of Information, Culture, Affairs and Tourism. The former president, Ellen Johnson, said he provided how many thousand he bought? 51 acres of land for the ministry to build a cultural center. After the cultural village was given to Harold LG for the hotel, the government identified a piece of land somewhere in Maggie on the highway to build a cultural center. They bought that land, the ministry got a deed. Or go on that land, this is what happened there. Go on that land. The last time we did a survey, out of the 51 acres, only 8 acres was not being occupied. So you see the problem? And guess what? As the surveyor went there to do the survey and put up billboard, they broke down the billboard, and the remaining 8 acres, I'm told they finished building houses on it. So the government goes and say, okay, this is government land, we'll take the phone and we'll say, oh, we can't do it. It's a problem. Maybe we need to now move from enforcement to properly educate our people. Because all of the people who are in the borderland, somebody just carries himself as the owner in the borderland for that person. And guess what? When the court hands out a ruling for eviction, that person will never be around. You will be the one facing the embarrassment. So while we are in sympathy with these citizens who are affected by the demolition, it should be a lesson to every citizen out there. Before you invest your money in a property, just make sure if you don't have the money to get a lawyer, check out one or two persons involved. Just be able to do due diligence and investigate. Because there are people out there willing to exploit the situation. So I don't think highlighting what the ministry is doing was in any way intended to undermine media sustainability. I think it's part of our job. The ministry recruiting full of vacancies for competent Liberians for a program that is one of the biggest in the country. We have to elevate it. Does it stop the ministry from hiring newspapers and bloggers to carry the news? No. So I think you should go to the ministry, they will answer that question. Because everything we read here about the Excel project is posted on the ministry social media page and on their website as well. Those are all of the questions. Today is Tuesday. We look forward to seeing all of you here again on Thursday to climax the operation for the week. Thank you for your attention.